outpatient program, which we are talking about today. I have been in the field a little over 9 years now, and historically have worked mainly with youth and young adults. So excited to be a part of this program that really caters to that population.
All right, and my name is Dr. Emily Eckstein. I am the VP of Regional Operations at Lightfully, and I oversee currently the Los Angeles and Conejo Valley, as well as our virtual program, because our virtual vice president is actually on maternity leave. So you all get me for a few more weeks in that oversight role. So I am a clinician by trade and practice for lots and lots of years, but I've been in operational leadership for quite a few years now, and mainly at Lightfully am support growth and expansion efforts, as well as like the operations of our programs. So I'm super excited to be here. Today, we're just going to kind of give a brief overview of what led us to create this offering, some of the research and data points that kind of led us to where we are. And then we will bounce back to Liv, who's going to give a bit of oversight of what our day-to-day program offering looks like. And I know our amazing admissions and outreach team, they're going to speak a little bit about that process and insurance, admissions, all that good stuff. And then, like Quinn said, we'll open it up to any other questions you have. Quinn, would you mind going to the next slide? So I wanted to kind of present this, which is really the why behind us getting to this place of creating this offering. So I'm not going to go through all these data points. Happy to share them at a later point if you're interested, but just want to highlight a few that really kind of stood out to us. The first one being the prevalence of mental health in the college university environment. So 60% of college students, they met the criteria for a primary mental health diagnosis, which is pretty profound if you think about it. And then of course we know, especially coming out of COVID, we've seen such an increase in suicide, and it remains the second highest cause of death between ages 10 to 34, and which our college population is really right there in the middle. When we looked at dropout rates, we definitely found that over 50%, more towards 65% of the students that end up dropping out had, again, that primary mental health diagnosis. So it became very clear as we started gathering the data that there was a huge link to intervention and clients getting the services early to be able to remain in university and continue on. So it became a point of how do we want to position ourselves within that intervention that clearly needed to happen early on to keep that retention rate in colleges. And then many of you probably know, with this kind of uptick of mental health that we've seen over the past few years coming out of COVID, it's already been there in college students. It's a hard transition, we all know that, but those rates have just skyrocketed as students have come back to university and back in person after COVID. And the counseling centers are overwhelmed. So you can see here some of the data points that we gathered in terms of caseloads at the counseling center. And so a lot of these counseling centers, as our outreach professionals were in the field, we're starting to say, hey, we're full, we're capacity issues, we can only offer this much to our students. So the need there for that support became pretty clear. And then as we started to dig into certain parts of the population, I highlighted here one statistic as we talk about the queer population on campus, as within those different sectors, there's just even more of a need with those kind of underserved populations. So we really wanted to highlight that as we moved through with the solution. Quinn, you want to go to the next slide for me? So Lightfully U really became our solution. So we got these data points. What do we do with it? Liv's going to talk a lot about the curriculum, which is one big part of the solution here. And we took a lot of those data points to create our curriculum. So we'll get into that in a bit. But we knew that we wanted to make sure that part of that solution was evidence-based treatment. And within that, I kind of want to back up and highlight what I have here in terms of what do we treat, who do we treat at Lightfully U. We treat all genders, 18 and above. We kind of do that middle kind of ground primary mental health. So your mood disorders, your anxiety, your depression, including OCD, trauma, PTSD, as well as personality disorders. What we kind of will not treat at Lightfully U is the primary thought disorder. So that would be an area where we would refer out. But we wanted to position ourselves within our process-based therapy model, which is what we use at Lightfully. If any of you have been to any of our other presentations or know about Lightfully, we're really proud of that being our therapeutic model of choice. And so that goes throughout all of our programs, adolescents, adults, and now Lightfully U, which is grounded in that evidence-based theory to most appropriately, target these diagnoses. Accessibility, our outreach team will talk a little bit more about that, but we really knew that when working with universities, we needed to be able to streamline that communication with the counseling centers, with the teams on site. We need to make sure we really understood the university payer system. Of course, not all of our students are going through the university, a good portion are. So what does that look like? As well as making sure that our schedule and telehealth options were accessible and they were being provided at a time that seemed most appropriate for that university student. So Liv will also talk a lot about that when we talk about our time offering right now and what that looks like. And again, going back to how do we support these universities with retention? Like, how do we keep these kids in school and what does that look like? And again, the accessibility piece, the collaboration, and how does that become another part of their week and not necessarily the first step being let's pull them from school? How can we kind of intervene earlier and help to increase retention rates that a lot of the universities you are speaking to right now that are dropping? And again, that specialized programming. What are we doing different than we have a really thriving virtual IOP for adults? How is what we're offering in Lightfully U different from that? And how is it really specialized with the needs and what we found when we were looking at that problem, right? And what did we really gain from the data points we got, and how do we create really specific curriculum to target those main problem and pain points? And we're really kind of proud of that curriculum. I'm excited for Liv to share about that. And again, how do we also within that target an inclusive population in terms of both our offering as well as our team providing those services? So, Liv, you want to jump into curriculum?
Yeah, absolutely. So a quick overview of the way that our program works. We are offered Monday through Friday. So clients can attend a max of 5 days a week, minimum of 3 days a week. And a typical day would be 3 hours from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's our current time offering to hopefully best work around both school and work schedules for students. And so during those 3 hours, clients are mainly in group sessions, and they are with other like same age, kind of same stage of life peers, and really building that community of people that are going through similar, if not the same things that they are. And so some of that curriculum is what we see here. So we talk a lot about values at Lightfully, and especially with the college population, I think values can be really important in helping them to know how they want to live their lives, how they want to, base their decision making. It can be hard to know who you are and what you're doing. And so we talk a lot, excuse me, about values and how those can support, making tough decisions, going through hard times in life. We talk a lot about gender, sexuality, and identity, obviously important for any age group, but especially when you are figuring out who you are. And in this kind of transitional age, we really support that identity exploration in a safe and supportive zone. Another one of our groups, relapse prevention, sort of is just a space to talk about how can we keep you moving forward. How can you take what you've learned with us and keep moving and sort of prepare for those hard times? We don't expect perfection ever, but we do give our clients the tools to keep moving forward through lapses and relapses. And then life skills, really important for this age group as well. Sometimes, living on your own for the first time, cooking your own meals for the first time, getting around a new city, meeting new people. There's so much going on and so much to learn often. And so our life skills group supports that. We talk about things like budgeting and very like culinary basics. We talk about how to write a resume, how to interview appropriately, how to dress appropriately for those sorts of things. Even things like how to have a hard conversation with a professor or with a roommate, and things like that. So we really considered the college population when creating the curriculum for this specific program. And then if Quinn, you can go to the next slide. Some of our even more specified groups for Lightfully U are up here right now. So similarly to what I was talking about, there's all of these new things coming at you in college often, and things like intimacy can come up in a way that they potentially haven't before. And so we talk a lot about safe and healthy intimacy. We teach about boundaries, process what intimacy with others and with yourself looks like. So that's a big piece of what we discuss, and can sometimes be pulled into the like gender, sexuality, and identity groups, and they can kind of play off of each other. Talk a lot about utilizing support systems and how to find support in your community, on your campus, within your family, friends, your kind of peer groups. And this group really talks about building community and how to find those resources and then best use them. We talk about what does healthy support look like? How do you know who to go to for those sorts of things? And then how do you have those conversations? And the reason that we talk a lot about this is we know that loneliness is a huge epidemic at this point, and especially somebody who maybe moved to a whole new state for college, they don't know anyone. That loneliness can creep up really fast and can contribute to things like anxiety and depression and other struggles. And with this group, we wanted to really support our students feeling like they know where to go after they're done with our program. So it's not like when they finish with us, they're back out into this kind of big, scary world. We help them get connected so that when they leave us, they know that they have other supports around them to continue moving forward in their lives, and not feeling so alone. Our skills and action group is somewhat similar to life skills, but we actually talk more about kind of mental health specific skills. So different coping skills, grounding skills, that they can use for even things like maybe test anxiety or social anxiety, anger, those different things that come up. We talk about specific skills for those things, and then we actually practice the skills in the groups together. So even though it's virtual, this is a more hands-on group, and we have navigated it where we do the things together so that we know our clients are actually getting that practice and know how to use those things in their real lives. Something we've seen in the past is that, we'll give a lot of skills and that's great, but our students don't actually know then how to place that into their real life. And so this group is about, what does your life look like? What do you actually have access to? And how can we make sure that you can use these skills with what you currently have access to? Like maybe you don't have access to the same things you had when you were living at home. You're now in a dorm. How can we get creative and make sure you do have access to what you need for coping and grounding, and different skills along those lines? And then our navigating transitions group is all about the big transitions and the little ones that can happen when you are going to college for the first time. Maybe we have someone who's going back home after being away for 4 years. The transitions, even just on holidays, going back home for a couple of weeks, maybe seeing people from high school or being around your family that maybe is kind of hard to be around, and you've had more freedoms in college. Things like homesickness and relationships changing and you changing, and all of those transitions that come up office in this time of life. We talk all about those and how to manage the feelings and difficulties that come up with them. So overall, all of our groups really are with the consideration of college students in mind, and this stage of life. And then some of our other groups do touch more specifically on emotions and behaviors and thought patterns and relationships. So this is not all of our groups, but these are the more specifically college geared ones. And so we talk about all of those things as well, and also have space for processing and doing things like sometimes we'll do art projects, we'll use music. So that's kind of what it looks like. Clients will be in typically 3 hours of groups per day. And then they have one individual session every week. Every other week, they have a support session, and that is with whomever they have identified as a support person, whether that's parents, caregivers, could be a partner or a friend, maybe a roommate. We do sessions with those people to also build up that support network and make sure that the client knows that they have people around them that are there to help and can kind of understand to some extent. And then the therapists that are working individually with the clients are also the ones that are running groups. So something from an individual session may be kind of appropriately pulled into a group that maybe really mirrors what was being talked about in a session, again, appropriately and with protecting that client. And then similarly, something that comes up in a group can very quickly be pulled into an individual session, since those same therapists are seeing our clients every day. We've got a pretty close, tight-knit group of us, and the clients see the same peers every day. They see the same therapists every day and really get to know each other and feel safe and supported in that space, because it is, again, the same faces every day. They're really getting to know each other and the therapists very, very well. So our clients are definitely like kept a close eye on when they are in our virtual space. And then we really do like to pull in any external supports we can. So if that client already has a therapist they're working with, or maybe they are going into the counseling center on campus, whatever it might be, we do like to keep in close contact with those other providers, and definitely like when a client can stay in touch with those providers too, so that we can, really kind of warmly hand them back to those people when they are done with us. And if they don't have people, we help them to create a team of professionals that they can keep working with after being in our program. So that, I think, is the full overview of kind of our schedule, what a typical day would look like for our students. Again, it can be up to 5 days a week, but they can do as little as 3 days a week. And then beyond that, we would have them just stepping down to their outpatient teams. But yeah, that's our overview.
Liv, it looks like that there was a question about psychiatric care and if that is provided at this level.
Sure. So at our virtual level of care, we do not provide psychiatric services. We definitely help many of our clients get connected with a psychiatrist in their community or virtually. So that is typically, even on the first day, something that we are starting to get them connected with, if that is something that they don't have and are wanting.
If we did feel most of PHP and IOP offerings at PHP level, that psychiatric piece is still there. And usually when you're at the IOP level, and this is brick and mortar also is reflected in this, that's when they've transitioned out to their own provider. So if that higher level like med management is needed, we probably want to look like a brief transition step up to in-person PHP. What other questions do folks have? Individual therapy, Kathleen, you're asking about individual therapy. That's offered every week. So every week you have an individual session, and then every other week is when there's a supportive other session. So a family session or supportive partner or friend. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I see one that says, how often and how long would one expect to meet with the therapist individually per week?
Sure. So yeah, every week our client would meet with their individual therapist, and usually the sessions are about 50 to 60 minutes, depending on need. Definitely if we had, if there's maybe a little crisis of some sort or something going on, our therapists are available to check in with clients. So by no means is it really rigid that they only see them for a certain amount of minutes. Of course, we appropriately keep it around a typical session time, but we absolutely will check in with clients. Maybe they really struggled in a group, we may pull them and have a conversation, or give them a call before groups if we know they had a hard morning and things like that. So there's definitely multiple touch points with the individual therapist throughout a week, in addition to those sessions.
How long does the average client spend in the program?
Good question. I would say typically for our virtual IOP programs, we see an average of maybe 45 to 60 days in programming. That can definitely vary for many, many reasons, but I would probably give that as the average.
Last month, I actually am presenting on our monthly operations a little bit later today. We had an astronomical length of stay last month. We had 70.1 days as the average for virtual IOP, which is pretty astounding. But Liv, you're right on. It's usually more near that like 50, 55-ish range.
I'm happy to touch on the admissions process if that would be helpful. Yeah, well, thanks, Emily. Thanks, Liv. Yeah, I'm Raina. I'm part of the outreach team with Lightfully. It's so nice to see everyone this morning. And just absolutely keep the questions coming just as those are coming in. Certainly just wanted to let you know a little bit about our admissions and the referral process. So the overarching theme really is we want to make it as easy as possible for you and for the students. So it's going to look a little different for each person, but we're always looking to start with the insurance piece of things, which we are in network. As Emily mentioned, we are in network with many commercial payers, and including Anthem, which is UC SHIP, which is terrific. If we are out of network for a student, we can absolutely pursue single case agreements. We have a wonderful in-house team that can do that and advocate for the students. And we also have financial aid. So there are a lot of different ways just on the insurance side that we can work with individuals. From there, we'll set up a phone assessment with one of our admissions specialists, one of our clinicians, and make sure that this is the right fit. We're going to be able to support this client in the best way. And then from there, it's just a matter of scheduling the admission and getting them started and making sure that they've got the schedule and everything ready. We also do have a rapid admissions program I just want to mention, where sometimes, going through the admissions process might be really tricky for a client. It may be really triggering to have to go through everything again. And so if the client is working with a team right now and we can get full case notes and progress notes, we can usually bypass the admission or the assessment piece if we have all the information we need. And then from there, it's really up to you. You're certainly welcome to reach out to us directly, your outreach contact. And we can also make sure that you've got the information for the admissions counselor who could take your client through the whole process. We really work in tandem as a team. So hope that's helpful. And we've got some awesome questions coming in. So I'll hand it back over to Emily and Liv.
I actually was typing out, but this is probably easier just to answer. There's a question about like aging out. So the answer is no, we don't have an age cap, like a cap on what we take. I did answer earlier, like 18 to around 30 tends to be the normal that we're seeing with undergrad and graduate students. But I would say what's great is because we have a really thriving adult virtual IOP, and we have 3 tracks within that range from anywhere on Pacific Coast time, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. We are able to incorporate, let's say, an older student that is like, oh gosh, there's a bunch of early 20s in the Lightfully U milieu right now. I really would love some connection points with clients that are closer to my age. We have the ability to step them in and sub into the adult virtual program. So let's say we wanted to incorporate in their treatment plan 4 groups a week where they're kind of stepping into a process group that has individuals that are more closer to their age. We have that availability and ability. So that's definitely something that we can use. Hopefully that answers that one.
Yeah, then we have a question that says that they're wondering about the processes for managing crisis for clients in the program, particularly suicide risk and hospitalization needs.
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely do work with suicidality, self-harm, some of those safety related difficulties. And we right away do a risk assessment on our clients and then consistently touch base on that with them depending on their level of risk. And when we do have a client that is, in kind of a more imminent risk zone, if we do have kind of immediate concerns, we always have an emergency contact. So we would usually reach out to them and then pretty quickly, call the emergency response team. We have definitely had to do wellness checks and things like that on our clients. So that's a situation where we would, let's say a client is speaking about something in group that is concerning, we would pull them out with somebody individually, assess for safety, and then take the next step. So that does typically look like, getting somebody that's in their household. If no one's in their household, then calling, an emergency response team or a wellness check, or sometimes we're able to get someone over there to take them to the hospital, whatever it might be. But we definitely, that's something we would jump on pretty quickly. And we've had a lot of success actually getting clients that are, struggling with suicidality into a hospital space. And then usually they'll step back down to maybe one of our in-person options and then back down to virtual IOP. So we've definitely had successes in the past with getting clients to voluntarily take that support that we're offering.
Any other questions? And of course, as you have more questions, like Raina said, please feel free to reach out to your respective outreach person in your area. They are so happy to answer any questions that you might have about this. Also, if you want to check out our social media, Every Wednesday, I've been doing a live with Liv. I love that, live with Liv, about Lightfully U, and it's questions that college students have actually sent in about this program that they've had, and we go through and answer them. So that can also be a really great resource for y'all to listen to. They're all posted on our Instagram, Facebook. So yeah, if y'all want to check that out, that could also be helpful.
And I just saw a second question come in about working with family. So yeah, so we provide a supportive other or a family session every other week. We're working on a rollout for a family support group, so we should have more information going into the new year about that as well. But yeah, every other week a family session is in addition to their individual session.
Yeah, so they're also wondering if there are flyers available to provide to clients who might be interested, or a printout for our program.
I'm pretty sure our outreach team has something that they're able to provide that can be posted. I'll let one of them speak to that, but we definitely have lots of goodies as it relates to that kind of thing, so you guys can spread the word.
Yeah, 100%. So we can make sure that you've got your info as a provider, of course, and then definitely some resources that would be more geared towards, hey, I'm thinking about this. What would this actually look like for me? And just to mention too, we're certainly always happy to talk with clients and families, anyone who's part of the support system, who's, considering treatment and making those decisions. We're always happy to connect with them, to answer any questions. If you have a specific client in mind, we can also always find time with Liv and or Emily, and talk through, hey, this is kind of who we have in mind. Here are some of the specifics. Would this be a good fit? So we're here to support really however we can.
Thank you all so much for coming. And again, like Quinn said and Raina mentioned, we're definitely open for questions, feedback, all of that. And we're really excited to be part of the community, the university community.
For sure. All right. Well, I think that is everything for today. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see y'all again, hopefully.
All right. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.